Good evening, everyone, to Motivational Talks Chance for Change. This particular one emanating from Spanish Fork, Utah. Before we get into the subject matter of our talk, we will offer our respectful obeisances to the lotus feet of our spiritual masters, Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Om Aganati Marandasya Ganangana Salakaya Chaksurin Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupakaramayam Darati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Siyata Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagadizam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sajevam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Larita Shiveshakan Vitam Sya Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tanamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vacharine Nirvishes Sunyavadi Praskita Desatani. Thank you, Anjali. I'm feeling better. As you may or may not know, I had a hiatus. Haven't been online since last Monday because I had a minor but painful health issue. It's called a UTI, and I'm not going to elaborate on that if you don't know what it is. But you have to take antibiotics and painkillers as well. So after a 6-day hiatus full of antibiotics and painkillers, we're going to see whether my brain has become addled or not this evening. And one of the reasons you see a different background than the normally I'm in the temple room, is that it just seems like a long way to go. And I don't entirely trust myself to go that way and back. So I'm right here in our ashram studio for convenience and safety's sake. Our topic is this. We gave this talk last Sunday, which technically is a Spanish Fork crowd, but the phone battery died 2/3 of the way through it, so we didn't get a complete recording. So for two reasons, we're going to give the same talk today. One is that this is technically speaking the Salt Lake City crowd, so it should be apples and oranges. And the other is that the battery is fully charged. So the topic today is called, so I hope if you heard the class last Sunday, I hope you enjoyed it enough to hear it a second time. If you didn't hear it yet, then you're good to go. Our topic today is shaking things up. In life, we all have things that turn things upside down, shake us to our core, an unexpected illness, we lose a loved one, a pandemic. We've been at that job for years, but now there's opposition. People are trying to push us out. All the stability that we're used to has gone. In these current times, the finances that we were counting on are being used just to get through the period. Our dreams of children going to a physical college and graduating from there to do great things, or you might say in danger of being shaken up as well. It's easy, I think you'd agree with me, to say that it's, we can get discouraged and we can start wondering, why did this happen? Well, here's the key. The shaking's not there to stop you. The shaking is there to shift you. If you just pass a test, keep the right attitude, that shaking will shift you into promotion. It will shift you into greater influence. It will shift you into better relationships. Krishna uses these shakings to get us in position for new levels. Without that door closing, we would never get out of our comfort zone. Of course, we don't like it, but the shaking is forcing us to change, forcing us to grow, and forcing us to mature. If everything just kept rolling along as it is now, we would never reach our potential. We need to stay open for something new. Don't go back to the same way we used to do things before the pandemic. Now is a time for examining what's working, what's not working, what's fulfilling, what's not fulfilling, what's meaningful, what's not meaningful. And the reason that Krishna allowed the shaking is to shift you into something better. Maybe your company had to furlough you. And that wasn't a surprise to Krishna. He shook things up so that he could give you a better environment. Looks like a setback, but really it's a setup. Krishna is using it to shift you to a place that you could not go on your own. In the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 3rd chapter, 12th verse, says, Ata che bato putram pakseo patitam nirpam chachala bur kukshetram yesham apatitam balai. Then, O Vidura, the Lord Krishna caused all the kings, both the enemies and those on the side of your fighting nephews, to be killed in the battle of Kurukshetra. All those kings were so great and strong and numerous that the earth seemed to shake as they traversed the warfield. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, when the burden of politics, and nations, and despots, tyrannical kings becomes too great for Mother Earth, Krishna arranges to give her a reset, to give her a breather, to give her a recess from our wrongdoings. Yada yada hi dharmasya. The Battle of Kurukshetra, which took place about 5,300 years ago, lightened the burden of the earth in the sense that it removed from the planet almost 4 million crooked politicians, aggressive military leaders, and their followers who had gotten puffed up with their power. In that connection, the Bhagavad Gita, 16th chapter, 17th verse, Pravritim cha nivritim janana vidur asara nasacham navichacharo nasacham teshu vijite. Pravritim are those things which should be done, and navriti are those things which should not be done. So those who are suras, who possess godly qualities, they're aware of what's not to be done and what's to be done. Those who are asuras, they're not aware of what's proper to do and what's improper to do. Prabhupada says in the purport, the living entity, insofar as we intersect with our physical animal nature, have an inclination for vyavaya, sex life, majja shade, intoxication, and amisha sheva, which is meat eating. Natural instinct there is, but asuras, in other words, those without godly qualities, they do not try to stop it. They want to increase it. That is asura life. For instance, if you have a disease and you want to cure the disease, the doctor gives you a prescription and he gives you a diet, which is conducive to get well soon. And I'd like to thank all those dozens and dozens of people that wrote in this week wishing me the very, very same thing. Get well soon, fast recovery. By your grace, I'm feeling good enough now to appear on Facebook Live. So the pravritum is the medicine and the good diet. And the nrivitum are the things that made you sick in the first place, like maybe even chocolate or some sweets. For instance, if you're diabetic, the nivriti will be what? Don't take sugar. Don't take starch, which is converted into sugar. That's the nivriti. So similarly, scripture, Shastra, gives us direction about which things we should be accepting and which things we should not be accepting. Ultimately, we're spirit souls. We're not part and parcel of this material world. And so, as much as possible, we want to reduce eating, sleeping, not eliminate it, but reduce it. We want those things to be in the nivriti category, where we're scaling them down, so we can become free of the shackles of this material world and be eligible to go back home, back to Godhead. So meat eating is anathema to spiritual purity and spiritual growth. But let's say someone says, well, I have to eat meat. That's their praviti. Okay, then if you were in traditional India 50 or 100 years ago, proper India ruled by scriptures, someone would say, okay, then you can eat the goat meat on one day a month, the dark moon night, after it's offered to Kali. So that's nirvriti. Part of it is weaning yourself from meat eating, reducing it, and doing it under regulation with the aim of ultimately being able to give it up. That's called nirvriti. Now we also require sex life, right? And illicit sex is extremely entangling. There isn't any other activity that's more entangling, that shackles you more fully and absolutely than sex life. And to the degree that you give it up, you're proportionally qualified for spiritual advancement. But who's going to do that? I mean, in our conditioned state, a young man with hormones raging, a young woman, they're just looking. Woman is looking for man, man is looking for woman. So the ultimate goal is to give it up in order to get liberation. But for now, if you want it, then the nivriti is get married, be satisfied with one life, and produce children under regulation. Gradually weaning oneself from those habits like that. So the difference between a sura and an asura is that the Sora, the godly person, he may be addicted to sex life, media, intoxication, but he's willing to continue those ongoing under restrictions so that gradually become less, less. Like if someone wanted to stop smoking cigarettes, he would go down to 15 a day, and after some time he'd go down to 10 a day, he'd go down to 5 a day, go down to 1 a day, and before you know it, step by step by step, he's free, he's done complete nivriti with the bad habit of cigarettes. So the difference then between a Sora may be at the present moment smoking, he may be eating meat, he may be engaged in intoxication, but he's willing to decrease it with the ultimate aim of giving up. Now the Asura, the person who'll never become Krishna or God conscious, he not only doesn't agree to do it under regulation, he not only doesn't agree to decrease it, but he's wholly, 100% forcefully committed to take all those things and increase them as much as possible. So in this period, Krishna is shaking things up. There's unrestricted sex life, unrestricted. You want to eat meat? Okay, kill a goat once a month. Nowhere does it give you permission to open huge slaughterhouses and kill billions and billions and billions of animals. So there's a upheaval, there's a shaking, there's a thundering. Meat plants are closing down. They've become hotspots for the coronavirus. Gas consumption is down. In April, in the United States of America, consumption of gasoline fell by a staggering 50%. Researchers at Columbia University calculated that carbon monoxide emissions in New York City, mostly coming from vehicles, also fell by 50%. 200,000 people die annually in the USA because of pollution. So with these reductions in emissions comes a dramatic overall improvement in public health, and just at the right time, because the more pollutants there are, the more readily people die from coronavirus, the higher the death rate is. Worldwide reduced pollution is down 17%. And we don't have statistics because it's all done in secret, but adulterous behavior must be down because it's just too intimate and too risky for the health. So we assume that's also plummeted as well. There are calls resonating far and wide for ban on wild drug trafficking, factory farms, and live annual markets. Now here's a parallel in ancient history. National Geographic magazine, in May of 1984 issue, they showed a series of colored photos and drawings of the swift and terrible destruction that wiped out the Roman cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum in AD 79. The explosion of Mount Vesuvius was so sudden, the residents were killed literally in mid-stride. They were killed while they were chopping vegetables on the chopping block. They were killed while they were relaxing at the public baths. They were killed while they were giving their change to the merchant at the farmer's market. There's all kinds of petrified human beings and animals in various stages of activity, indicating total surprise. They died amid volcanic ash and superheated gases. So it doesn't take much imagination to picture the panic and ghastliness of that particular day. Now, here's the saddest part of that. None of those people had to die. Scientists confirm what Roman historians record: weeks of rumblings and shakings preceded the actual explosion. Even an ominous plume of smoke was clearly visible from the mouth of the volcano Vesuvius just the day before the eruption. If only they'd been able to respond to Vesuvius's warning. So similarly, would you agree with me that there are rumblings in our world, warnings in our world, earthquakes, the nuclear threat, economic woes, breakdown of the family and moral standards, and now the pandemic has come as a further warning. And these things indicate we can't go on doing the things the way we have been doing them. We need to transition from the mode of the asura, of unrestricted sensuality, unrestricted exploitation of the earth, unrestricted killing of the animals, to allow ourselves, if we need to indulge in these unwanted things, to do so under restriction with the aim of ultimately giving them up. And Krishna indicates to us that he wants us to make some changes for our own good. He wants us to do new things, take better care of our planet, our fellow creatures, including the animals, and ourselves in a more godly way. Now, this pandemic in itself, it's not a cataclysmic disaster. Relative to what it could be, it's just a general warning, a slap on the wrist, compared to what could come if we don't exercise some restraint, turn around and get moving in the wrong direction. We need to reduce the pravriti and increase the nivriti. If we do that, people need not be caught unprepared for what may come. Krishna is warning us right now with all the shakings and the rumblings. Frank Lloyd Wright, he's one of the most innovative architects in the history of America. Not only was his fame limited to the United States, but about 100 years ago, Japan asked Wright to design a hotel for Tokyo that would be capable of surviving an earthquake. And when he visited Japan to see where the Imperial Hotel was to be built, he was appalled to find only about 8 feet of earth on the site. Beneath that was 60 feet of soft, marsh-like, swampy mud that slipped and shook like jelly. Every test hole that he dug filled up immediately with water. And since the hotel consequently was going to rest on fluid ground, Wright decided to build it like a ship. Instead of trying to keep the structure from moving during a quake, he incorporated features that would allow the hotel to ride out the shock without damage. Supports were sunk into the soft mud, and sections of the foundation were cantilevered from the supports. The rooms were built in sections like a train and hinged together. Water pipes and electric lines, which are usually the first to shear off in an earthquake, were hung vertically instead of laid horizontally so they could sway freely if necessary. And Wright also knew that the major cause of destruction after an earthquake was fire, because water lines are apt to be broken in the ground and then there's no resources to put the fire out. So he insisted on a large outdoor pool in the courtyard of his hotel, just in case. After 4 years of work, amid ridicule and jeers of skeptical onlookers, this most difficult building in the world was completed, and it wasn't long before the day arrived when it would be tested completely. The worst earthquake in Japan's history in 1921, I believe it was, caused homes and buildings all around the hotel to tumble and fall instantly into ruins. But the Imperial Hotel stood completely undamaged because it was able to adjust itself to the tremors of the earth. Not only had it provided a home for hundreds and hundreds of people that needed shelter, but over and above that, when fires raged all around the area, the hotel pool was used along with bucket brigades to wet down structures and save them from the destructive fire. So what do we learn from this? That anybody can trust Krishna when things are going normally, when things are going our way. Our plans are coming to fruition, and they're doing so on our timetable. Life is good. We're seeing favor. Now, the real test is, will you trust him when things are shaking? Will you prepare yourself, heed the warnings, do the needful when there's uncertainty, when there are things you don't understand? Krishna has you in the palm of his hand. Nothing can happen without his permission. And when someone or something threatens to wreak havoc in your life, when things feel like they're out of control, can we encourage you tonight? Krishna is still on the throne. He's still ordering your steps. That shaking is not going to defeat you. It's going to promote you. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's setting you up for what Krishna is about to do. You're on the verge of something better than you've ever imagined. Krishna is working behind the scenes. Things are in motion that you can't see. Your thoughts will assail you and tell you it's not going to work out. You're not going to get well. Your child is never going to get back on course. This virus is going to ruin you and your business financially. No. The shaking is a sign that a shift is taking place. Krishna is about to launch you to a new level. You're about to see something that you've never seen before. During an earthquake several years ago, the inhabitants of a small jungle village were generally very much alarmed, but they were at the same time surprised at the calmness and apparent joy of an old woman whom they all knew. One of them eventually walked up and said to the old woman, "Mother, are you not afraid by the rumblings, the tremors, and the shaking?" The woman said, "No, I'm not afraid. In fact, not only am I not afraid, but I am rejoicing to know that I have a God who can shake the world." What's coming is not going to be ordinary. It's not going to be common. It's going to be uncommon, unusual, unprecedented. Favor, healing, opportunity. One day you're going to look back on these times and say, what I thought was a bad break was really setting me up for this new level. The shaking wasn't there to stop me. The shaking is what shifted me into this present day increase, into promotion, into talent that at the time I didn't even know I had. And when you're doing the right thing and a door closes, somebody walks away, the contract comes to an end, that's not the enemy stopping you. That's Krishna shifting you. The enemy may have meant to harm you, but he doesn't have the final say. Back in 1978, I had been the president of the San Francisco/Berkeley Krishna Temple for 3 years. It had been floundering and unstable when I went in 1975, but with great effort and a wonderful management team, we got it back in course. We attracted about 100 new residential devotees and started moving forward. Books were going out in the thousands. We were #1 temple in America. Income, of course, was flowing in. Our annual festival in Golden Gate Park drew 25,000 people in 1977, and we were featured on the front page of the San Francisco Chronicle the following Monday morning. We acquired residential properties on our street for the devotees, and in addition, we bought a 120-acre beautiful farm in Mendocino County. Long story short, 1977-78 was a time of uncertainty. It was a time of shake-up. It's when our spiritual master, the founder and guide of our International Society, quit his body and left the planet. So in that aftermath, the GBC sent to be over Berkeley a representative who had no intention of working with me or supporting or being accountable to the status quo. And his gross mismanagement so saddened me that I could no longer remain and have my name be a part of what was happening. At that time, thoughts flooded my mind. What's going to happen to the temple? What's going to become of the devotees that we worked so hard to make, that we brought to the movement? Who will organize the festivals? Who will manage the farm? Who will pay the bills? Now, as I think back, I recall that in the middle of all that turmoil, with so much uncertainty, so much shaking, and so much upheaval, I felt at peace like I'd never felt before. I can't explain it, but even though I loved that temple and I loved that mission, and there was nothing tangible out in front of me at the time, I didn't get depressed. I didn't fall apart. The situation was so much out of my control that I knew that Krishna was up to something special. And what I didn't know at that time was the shaking was about to shift me. I never dreamed I would eventually come to Utah. Utah wasn't even in my radar in those days. If you had asked me what I wanted at the time, I'd have probably just asked you to turn back the clock to before that bad leader arrived. But Krishna created me not just to maintain a pre-existing temple, he wanted me to start a temple. Not only did he want me and Vaibhavi to start a temple, but he wanted it to be done in a most unlikely place. He wanted to amaze people with his power by doing it in a spectacular way. Krishna knew the solution long before the problem of what I was going to do to myself in post-Berkeley days even arose. And it's interesting and even prophetic to think that the temple in Berkeley had been a former Jesus Christ of Latter-day Church chapel, which had been purchased by the Krishnas from them. The point is that Krishna would not have allowed that door to close. Krishna would not have allowed them to walk away if it was going to stop your purpose. Have a new perspective. It's shifting you to where Krishna wants you to go. Quit being discouraged over who pushed you out, who didn't want to be your friend, who played politics and got the best of you. Hey, they did not stop your destiny. All they did was shift you, positioned you in a better place. They were a part of Krishna's plan, not to push you out, but push you forward and push you up. You're about to come into the new things that Krishna has in store. Vi and I felt like we didn't have a choice. We were pushed out of Berkeley. We could have been discouraged, but we understood this principle. We know that God is always and completely and thoroughly in control. And what's interesting is that Spanish Fork is where our ministry took off. Spanish Fork is where we flourished and stepped up to a new level. We've seen all kinds of miracles in Spanish Fork. KHQN radio station now broadcasts all over the world through the internet as well as locally. We built this temple in Spanish Fork, Utah from 1998 to 2001. It's been open for almost 20 years now. We opened another beautiful Rajasthani-style temple August 17th, 2019 in Salt Lake City last year. We've had dozens and dozens of color festivals, not only the huge mother of all color festivals right here on the property, which attracts 25,000 people annually over 2 days, but we've also done festivals in most of the major cities in Nevada, California, as well as Utah. We had success in Berkeley, don't get me wrong, but not to this level, not groundbreaking, mouth-dropping, explosive success. If we'd have stayed in Berkeley, we would have missed the fullness of our destiny. Now, many times a great shaking precedes a great favor. Great difficulties precede great promotion. Great opposition precedes great influence. If you could see beyond the veil what it is that Krishna is up to, working behind the scenes, you wouldn't right now be stressed over the shaking. You wouldn't be complaining over the trouble about the setback. When you realize it's shifting you to your own Spanish Fork, a place where you're going to flourish, a place where you're going to do things you never dreamed of, where you're going to see favor, abundance, and breakthroughs, then you would thank Krishna even in the midst of the shakings and the uncertainty. Even though it's uncertain, you know that Krishna is up to something. It's just too big. It's too far out of your control. Now, all through the day, why don't we get in the habit of saying, Krishna, thank you that this shaking is not going to stop me, but it's going to shift me. It may have been meant for my harm, but I know that it's leading me to my Spanish Fork, where I'm going to see favor and abundance and success like I could never even imagine. It's just a matter of perspective. Krishna never said there wouldn't be times when things weren't shaken. There wouldn't be times when things aren't unfair. There wouldn't be times where we wouldn't understand. But those are not the times to fall apart. Those are the times to kick your praise into a new gear. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. These times of shaking are the very times that you need to kick it up and you need to start speaking victory in your life. The difficulty did not come to stay, it came to pass. Krishna being for you is more than the world being against you. You may have gone, who hasn't, joined the club, things that caused you great pain, disappointment, loss. You could be bitter, you could be discouraged, but that's not how any of our stories end. Joy is coming, favor is coming, great relationships, great health, great achievements. The enemy thought that she was stopping you, but didn't realize she was really setting you up. In the shaking, Krishna is shifting you. You may not be there yet, but be encouraged. You're headed towards great joy, not just joy, not just I'm okay, I made it out, thank God I'm still here. No, great joy, unprecedented joy, great victories, unprecedented victories are out up ahead. You won't be thinking back and longing for the good old days. I wish we could turn the clock back. I wish I was there. Can I tell you, there's some great new days in your future. The best days of your life are still out in front of you. You may have gone through some disappointments, but you need to declare every day, Krishna, thank you that great joy is coming. Scripture says that Krishna will fill your mouth with laughter. You are going to laugh again. You're going to love again. You're going to dream again. Great joy is headed your way. I've learned that in these times of shaking, Krishna will always give us the grace that we need. He's armed us with strength for every battle. Now all we have to do is tap into that strength and we'll be immune from going around feeling overwhelmed and stressed out. It is said God will give you the desires of your heart. Sometimes we think that means that Krishna will give us what we want. But another way to look at it is Krishna will give you what you need in order to fulfill your purpose and to fulfill the desires of your heart. Krishna pushed me out of California to Utah. Now it's significant that my flourishing, my awakening, my blossoming came out of a shaky time. Everything was in upheaval in 1977. We lost our eternal master, father, and guide, and we took some wrong turns. We made some mistakes. There was so much uncertainty. At that time, it looked like something which was very, very positive and which had built a lot of inertia had hit some stumbling blocks in the road. But in fact, Krishna was using that shaky season to shift us, to get us into position to flourish, to see his favor and his blessings in new ways. Now, in one sense, that's just right where we are here now with the pandemic. Things are shaky, things are uncertain. We're seeing things that we've never seen before. When will it get back to normal? What about my finances? When will the children go to school? How's it all going to work out? Are some of the questions. We don't see any positive answers. But this shaking is shifting you. Looks like a setback, but we have to have faith that it's really setting us up. Faith that we're going to come into new opportunities. Doors that, in fact, weren't open before are going to open for you in the future. You're going to have desires that you never knew you had. Talent is going to come out of you that you didn't know was in you in the first place. And where you've been told no before, because of this shift, you're going to hear yeses. Yes to that business. Yes to that loan. Yes to that promotion. Yes to that ministry. The medical checkup, for so long now, after every checkup, you've heard no improvement, nothing's getting better, cholesterol's high, your blood pressure is high. Now you're going to start hearing some yeses. Doctor says, I don't know how to explain it, but yes, you're getting healthier. Yes, your blood pressure has dropped. Yes, the cancer is gone. There's some shifting taking place. You can't see it yet, but don't worry. You're coming into it. You don't have to find it. It's going to find you. It's already on the way. The miracle is already in motion. Friends, Krishna's doing a new thing. Don't think that the whole world is being put on pause. It's just a physical thing. There's spiritual things happening along with it. Krishna's up to something big. He's looking for people whose hearts are turned towards him. People like you. People who honor him. People who keep him first place. Those type of people are going to come out of this shaking into levels that they've never even dreamed before. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It is said in Scripture, the wealth of the ungodly is being transferred to the righteous. There are things that Krishna has laid up for you. There's going to be a transfer of wealth from those people that will have nothing to do with Krishna, from those people who think only about themselves. The wealth is going to go to people who will use those resources to build the kingdom, to lift the fallen, to bring justice to those who now have no voice, and to make the world a more suric, godly, and less asuric, ungodly place. Krishna's about to shift some contracts, some businesses, some opportunities, some inheritances. It's going to be unusual income that you could not have made happen on your own, and it's already headed your way with your name on it. It's just a matter of time before Krishna gives you the means to do unprecedented things. Now, all we have to do is our part, which is to keep God first place. You don't have to seek the blessing, just seek Him, and the blessings will seek you. Part of this slowdown is an opportunity to grow closer to Krishna, to deepen your relationship with Him, and to do some quality japa. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This situation shows us how little control we have. With all the advancement over the years, the technology, the smartphones, the airplanes, the internet, amazing medical procedures, we can transplant hearts. Nevertheless, this one invisible virus, this one seemingly small thing, has shut down the entire world. What do we learn? If you put trust in your finances, they can go down in the same way. If you put trust in your job, in your career, it can go down in the same way. It can suddenly change. If you put trust in the stock market, trust in the economy, it can go down overnight. And that's why it's so important to put your trust in Krishna, because He never goes down. He never changes. He is our source. That's where our strength, our ideas, our creativity, our resources, and our wisdom come. Krishna is our really one and only asset. Krishna is the giver of all good things that we enjoy. And yes, we appreciate the companies that we work for. We're grateful to have the income every week. But those companies are not our source. They are simply a resource that the source, Krishna, is using. The shaking is a sign that things are shifting in your favor. Well, Caru, I don't really believe that this is going to happen to me. You're right. This is for believers. It's only going to happen if you release your faith. Say that Krishna's shaking is shifting me. Thank you. You're giving me new desires, giving me creativity, open doors, blessing me so that I can pass on those blessings and be a blessing to others. I've learned that Krishna is not so much into addition as He is into multiplication. Yes, one touch of His favor will catapult you ahead. We look at our circumstances in the natural and we think it's never going to work out. It's going to take years, decades. But we serve a supernatural God. He's not limited in the same way that we're limited. One good break, one contract, one phone call, one connection, and Krishna will multiply what you have. He'll thrust you to a whole new level. It's shaky right now, granted. Things seem uncertain right now, granted. And there's a temptation, granted, to live worried, stressed out. But why not shift over into expectation, excitement, readiness? A shift is coming. Krishna is going to make things happen that you couldn't make happen. Perhaps the medical report didn't look good. It's shaking your world. Nevertheless, come back to the place of peace, that Krishna can do what medicine can't do. He's promised the number of your days He will fulfill. Perhaps a child is off course. Your business went down. You're in a legal complication. You never dreamed you would be dealing with these things, keeping you awake at night. Hey, realize it's not a surprise to Krishna. He would not have allowed the shaking if it didn't already have a solution. If He didn't have some new area from Berkeley to Spanish Fork lined up, He would have not allowed the trouble in the first place. So instead of being depressed over the shaking, I have another suggestion. Why don't you start thanking Him for the solution? Krishna, thank you that Spanish Fork is coming. Thank you that breakthroughs are coming, healing, favor. Thank you that what you started in my life, you will finish. Krishna will never get you into a problem that He can't get you out of. It may look like the situation doesn't have a solution. The odds are against you, but Krishna has ways to do things that you've never thought of. What's impossible with people is possible with Krishna. We may not like the shakings, the times things seem out of control, but they're not going to stop you. They're not going to stop Krishna's plans for your life. What are they going to do? They're going to shift you. Out of the shaking, new doors are going to open, new opportunities, new relationships, things that you didn't see coming. Chains that have held you back for years are about to be broken. Chains of depression, chains of lack and struggle, chains of addictions. Don't complain about the shaking. It's serving a great purpose. Krishna is using it to thrust you to where you could not go without it. Now every day, Krishna, thank you that the shaking is shifting me into promotion, into healing, into new levels. If you keep this attitude of faith, I believe that you're going to come out of this shaking into great joy, great favor, great increase, great relationships. You're going to come into the fullness of your destiny in this life, and in the next life, you're going to go back to home, back to Godhead. So will you join me in chanting the Maha Mantra in conclusion? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you for your comment, Daniel. I'm always encouraged, improved, and inspired in better shape after hearing these types of talks. And guess what? I'm also improved and inspired. So let's move forward all together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.